What if I told you the Seven Kingdoms did not fall in war? They fell the moment one man decided they already belonged to him. Westeros was not ready. Not for war. Not for conquest. Not for fire descending from the sky. It had known conflict for centuries, yes, but it had never known inevitability. Never known an enemy that did not need permission to destroy. Across the narrow sea, on the black volcanic shores of Dragonstone, a decision had already been made that would end the age of divided kings. Aegon Targaryen stood at the edge of the world he knew, watching the horizon where sea met sky. Behind him, his sisters waited. Visenya, hardened by discipline and steel. Rhaenys, graceful but unyielding in purpose. And above them all, circling the skies, the dragons. Balerion, Vhagar, Meraxes, beasts born of Valyria, survivors of an empire that no longer existed. Aegon did not speak of conquest as ambition. He spoke of it as certainty. Westeros was divided. That was its greatest weakness. The north, vast and cold, ruled by ancient honor. The Vale, hidden behind mountains like a kingdom afraid of the world. The riverlands, forever bleeding for other men's wars. The Westerlands, rich but proud. The Reach, fertile and arrogant. The Stormlands, violent and fractured. And Dorne, untouched and defiant. Seven kingdoms, seven crowns, seven illusions of power. Aegon saw none of them as equals. He saw them as pieces. And pieces could be moved. Or broken. The fleet left Dragonstone in silence. There were no horns. No songs. No celebration. Only the sound of wood cutting through water and wings cutting through sky. Balerion's wings blocked the sun for a moment as he passed overhead. Vhagar followed, ancient and patient, like a memory of destruction. Meraxes moved with deadly grace, circling low above the water as if measuring the land before it would be consumed. The shoreline below remained quiet. For now, Aegon stood at the bow of the lead ship as it struck land. The wood groaned as it met stone and sand. The world did not resist. It only accepted. He stepped forward first. Not as a visitor, not as an invader, but as something inevitable. Behind him, his army followed. Armored men from Dragonstone, hardened by sea and uncertainty, now stepping onto soil that would remember their arrival forever. The banners rose into the wind. The three-headed dragon burned against the sky. And in that moment, Westeros began to change. Far inland, unknown lords looked toward their horizons and saw smoke where there had been none before. Farmers paused in their fields, unsure why the sky felt different. Animals fled forests without direction or reason. Something had arrived. Something that did not belong. A dragon passed low over a coastal village. Fire followed without hesitation. Wood collapsed into flame. Stone cracked under heat. The world learned, for the first time in centuries, what it meant to be small. The response across Westeros was confusion before fear. Messengers were sent. Riders galloped across kingdoms. Councils were called in stone halls filled with uncertainty. But no kingdom had a plan for dragons. Because no kingdom believed dragons would return. Aegon did not rush. He did not need to. He watched as the world began to understand slowly, painfully, that its divisions were no longer protection. They were invitations. Each kingdom believed it was strong alone. But strength without unity is simply delay. The landing was complete. The conquest had not yet begun. But the end of the old world had already started. And as night fell over the first soil touched by Targaryen feet, fire reflected in the eyes of dragons circling above. Westeros was no longer untouched. It was no longer safe. It was no longer separate. It was now part of a story that had already been written in flame long before its kings ever realized they were in it. And at the center of that story stood Aegon Targaryen. Not yet a conqueror in name, but already one in truth. Because some destinies are not chosen. They arrive, like fire across water, like dragons across the sky, like the end of everything that came before.